Welcome to this week's Climate Dispatch. Johanna Miller with Vermont Natural Resources Council, joined by my colleague Lauren Hurl, Vermont Conservation Voters, and here today with Representative Sibilia, who's the Vice Chair of the House Environment and Energy Committee. We're excited that you're able to join us for a few moments today. This has been a crazy busy week. It's been an extremely busy legislative session. They've done a lot on climate and clean energy this week already. Yesterday, they voted out of your committee two really crucial bills and priorities for us: the Flood Safety Act, S213, and the Climate Superfund bill, which is holding some of the largest fossil fuel companies accountable for some of the costs of the damage incurred from climate change. You're in the chair today on the Renewable Energy Standard, which is now in Senate Natural Resources and Energy, and also moved the bill, a miscellaneous PUC bill, Public Utility Commission bill, that has several important provisions in it related to an Energy Efficiency and Modernization Act pilot program extension, some very important surgical changes to the clean heat standard that were requested by the Public Utility Commission and the Vermont fuel dealers. Really important work there. And then also some important components that I'm hoping you can talk to about all the things in the PUC bill and your priorities this session. Just tell us a little bit more, Representative.
Yeah, sure. So in the PUC bill, we have a number of updates and fixes and kind of regulatory stability provided for a few concepts. One is thermal networks and ensuring that we're clear that municipalities may move forward with thermal networks and putting in place a study for the PUC to come back and give us recommendations on how to regulate thermal networks with regulated utilities in the future. In addition, we have updates to a number of different things. I think there might have been 13 different pieces in there. Energy stabilization study. So this was really important and came out of the work of the Renewable Energy Standard and the discussion around rates and electric rates for folks and how they are going to be able to afford them. When we're looking at beneficial electrification, which we are in both the clean heat standard and other transportation initiatives, this is increasing folks' electric usage. And so it is important for us to be cognizant of the impact on rates, but it's important for us to be cognizant of that in a way that is balanced and where we understand what the total energy burden is for families. And so this study will come back and help us really think about that in a more holistic way, rather than just what's happening with electric rates. So there's that. Thermal. What else did we have in there? We had, you touched on the clean heat standard, something that is really important to me, thinking about rural Vermont and making sure that all Vermonters are able to participate in the thermal energy transition. And we've heard back, as we expected to, from the PUC about needed changes and how to, those are dates, they need some more time on a few pieces of the bill, and we expected this and are moving through the process. This is great information to have as we move towards next year and looking at the rules for the legislature to vote on. We had a number of energy savings and energy management project, slight tweaks in there, but those I think were kind of the larger pieces within the miscellaneous PUC bill.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It has been a very, very busy week.
Yes, and then you moved to marquee bills, a Climate Superfund and the Flood Safety Act.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how those are moving along and why they're so important?
Yeah, I mean, they are really, really important. As someone who has both worked in communities that have been devastated by flood and then, twice. So once I was responsible for helping those communities recover at a very close to the ground level, and here in Montpelier, of course, and Barre, they have also been devastated. And so personally, you can see the effects, you understand how Vermonters are struggling with the damages that happen from our changing climate. And we are simply not moving fast enough and don't have enough resources. And absolutely, the companies that knew and knew a long time ago, knew decades ago, must be a major part of the solution, as has happened in tobacco and other efforts to hold producers of harmful goods responsible for the effects. So really proud of that piece. I'm really grateful for S213, the Flood Safety Act. I have communities that have been impacted. Trying to manage water. I think about Jamaica, one of the towns that I represent. Really overwhelming for a lot of our small communities. I was not at all surprised that VLCT was in favor of this. It makes sense to have the state really have consistent regulatory powers over river corridors. Key to that will be making sure that there's staffing at the Agency of Natural Resources, which is something that we have included and want to make sure our Senate colleagues include in the budget. Because when we increase regulations, we also need to make sure that we increase the number of people there to enforce and assist with those regulations.
Absolutely.
But those two pieces of legislation actually provide me with a large amount of relief that we are taking some really serious steps to helping our communities who are going to continue to be impacted by climate change.
Yeah. Well,
Grateful for that.
super grateful, and living here in Montpelier, still dealing with the many ongoing effects of the flood. I think just being able to deliver to people that we're taking action, we're taking it seriously, and these are really meaningful steps is awesome. So we always like to wrap with a call to action. As you can hear, there's a ton going on in the State House. A lot of these bills are going to be continuing to move through a few other committees before floor votes, and I know lots of you have already reached out to express your support for these policies to your legislators, which is great, and keep it up. But we also this week want to let people know that there's 2 upcoming public hearings that the Public Utility Commission is holding on the clean heat standard. So we do all this work in the State House, but then to go and actually make those programs happen is so much work. So there's upcoming public hearings May 7th and June 6th. May 7th, June 6th. So sign up. We'll put the info in a link where you can find that. But it's so important for people's voices to be heard so that we can make sure that program is developed, hitting our climate goals and also our equity and affordability goals simultaneously. And we think we could do it all if we shape that program right and well. So make your voices heard. Thank you so much for joining us and all you're doing. It's been a real marathon this year.
Indeed.
And we'll be back to you next week with updates on how everything's shaken out.
Thank you.